Welcome back, traders and investors. We have Rod David, marijuana stock technical trader. Rod, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Could you just tell us a little bit about your product on MarketFi?
Yeah, you bet. I started the product because there's I think, a big long-term opportunity in the marijuana sector. We have a pullback underway right now, but if you look at the last up leg, it had all the markings of just a gold rush. Gold rushes don't stop on a dime. They seem to, but the next leg that we're looking for should make clear a lot more substantially, a lot more globally, that there's actually a new phase,
Okay,
socially,
okay.
economically, trying to take advantage of it.
Okay. Well, before we talk about the ones that are, coming back down, this GWPH is not coming back down. Morgan Stanley really got things rocking and rolling with that upgrade $50 level. Let's talk about that. Do you think there was a lot of short interest there that destroyed traders, or what do you think? You just think that Morgan just got the ball going? What was it?
It's interesting, and let me say up front, I'm one of those shorts right now. Not from down there, but from up here.
Okay.
Actually, right about here. Yeah, Morgan Stanley is one of those reasons that I'm fairly positive. I don't know if I made that clear a moment ago on the sector. Basically, you're getting GW, of course, is the blue chip of the sector, and it stands alone. It stands far apart from a lot of the other components. But nevertheless, when you have Morgan Stanley, and they're not the only bank covering them, Bank of America, Piper, etc., has coverage. When you have blue chip investment banking research, then you're probably a blue chip company as well, and that's adding legitimacy to the sector. I'm frankly a little surprised. Obviously, it had a really nice move, and I know you covered it last week when you discussed it. It had a real, or when on that day when it had a really nice move, and after it followed through for a day or two. The one thing about it that surprises me is that that hasn't permeated so substantially into the balance of the market of the sector. There were some bounces in the sector. I'm surprised at this point that there hasn't been that legitimacy hasn't yet filtered down. And then there was some additional that you didn't mention, the FDA. You're probably going to get to that the FDA added some legitimacy as well by
Correct.
fast tracking GW's one of GW's drugs, suddenly
Sativax or
saying to the
something like
world that
that? Is
we're in
it?
favor of cannabinoids.
Yeah. So what's your thesis for your short here? And we don't need particular prices, but you just, where's your target for the short, and will you be looking to reverse into a long? What would shake you out of this position? I mean, it's had to gap up, and it's held here, and you got some levels to lean on up above. Are you just looking for some profit taking here, or what's your thesis for the short?
Yeah, I think the profit taking is done, and it's more of a corrective leg. This huge bar, obviously, that's scary to be stepping in front of, but huge bars need to be retraced. Not entirely. The gap doesn't need to be filled. The opening gap doesn't need to be retested, although there's potential to that. But bottom line, second from the bottom line, I'm very bullish on GW longer term. I have no problem with the company. I think it's as I said, it's a leader. I'm just looking for a technical correction down to 54. Actually, targeting a little bit lower, but that's the portion of the leg that I want to grab. And being a short-term trader, I'm looking for it to develop over the short term. This isn't the long-held short. I've got to stop though above that. If there's a close above X that subscribers are
Okay.
aware of, then yeah, I get at least cover the short, and then potentially, depending on volume and other pattern setups, switched along.
What about, are you the kind of trader that, okay, so you have your initial short on, but one, like, do you have a level where, man, if it goes through here, I'm right, and you would add to the position or add to it intraday?
Yeah, there might be something like that. My equivalent to that, which you just described, isn't the price, but price action. So there's
Okay.
certain behaviors that I'll look for,
Okay.
or that certain behaviors that if I notice, you're a trader, you'll notice them intuitively. You'll feel more confident. I've actually codified them so that if there's specific price action that and then again adding the price to it, the price element. If it's happening at 55 and my target's 54, I probably won't add. But yeah, there's exactly that sort of a opportunity
So
along
you're
the way down.
looking for it to come back down into that area, huh? I mean, that's where part of the gap area, but it opened up $50 and was trading up at the pre-market. Then Kramer got involved and talked about it. So that's interesting. I just looking at the chart right now, I think that might be a tough one for you. But okay.
You're welcome to just shorten that entire paragraph and say you're nuts, Rod.
No,
Uh,
I don't know. When things
But
get
you
up,
did just list a lot of positive things. I listed a lot of positive
okay.
things. There's a lot of positive things in the stock that have happened actually since those first couple of days, 3 days. A lot of positive things, and the stock is still here.
You know
That's
what?
part of the thesis as well.
I think that's the mark of a good trader. I mean, I think the mark of a good trader, a good analyst, is to go with what you've learned and you've taught yourself to learn from the markets. And if your formula is given a short, then you're going with it. I mean, I think that's important. I think sometimes that people overlook that, they get too opinionated. So what's
I
looking
hope you're
good?
right because there's two other marks of a good trader. One is to actually have some P on the P&L, and the other is to have a stop loss, and we're trying to have those two as well.
Okay, so this one's moved, and we had some halts, and we've had some things going on. You say some stocks to buy here in this sector that maybe haven't left the station yet.
Yeah, or have come
Okay.
back to the station. There's a number of good names. There's also some not so well-known names, not at all known names. They're predominantly in the penny stock range, in the dollar stock range. There's a name, for instance, that that you wouldn't know unless you were actually in the news or into the news. It has some involvement. Stevia, STEV, and it's the same stevia. This is a stock that had a really nice percentage run. Really nice percentage run. Let me get those specific prices. There we go. Nice percentage run in February. At the end of February, this was a 12-cent stock, and in the beginning of March, it was a 33-cent stock, or not 33. Sorry, it was a 33-cent stock. That kind of thing doesn't just continue to the moon, and it's back down to the. It got down to the 11-cent area, and now it's ranging around 15 cents. That's an interesting play. Volume has died on it. That's a big name, and it has some resistance in here that it's actually been ranging around. If something like that can lift off, STEV, a name like that, adding to the credibility of the industry.
What do they do? What do they do in the sector?
What they do, they have, and this is where we get into fundamentals, which, as you know, I don't do.
Okay.
I'm a technician. But let me go ahead and get to their. You know what? I am going to get to their profile page and give
Okay.
you that.
All right. I just because that's the thing I'm trying to get a handle on for this sector because when I interviewed Alan Brockstein a couple months back, I I'm like, okay, so what's going to happen? The supply and demand, and I think people might mistakenly be thinking that, okay, every state's going to legalize it, everyone's going to be smoking pot, and you're going to need supply out there to meet the demand. But Alan's thesis is that everyone that's out there smoking it is going to do it too. It's just going to be through legal channels. So he just thinks there's going to be a change in the supply from the illegal sources to the legal, and that it's already out there. So where is the value? I mean, you get a company like GWPH that's coming up with medicinal purposes for it. I mean, unless a company, I don't know what Stevia does or some of these other ones. I mean, what's going to be the driver?
This is going to be a little off the beaten path, perhaps, for a stevia to suddenly be involved in this industry. They're basically marrying their branding as a dietary supplement
Okay.
to include cannabinoids. They have efforts underway to extract CBD from hemp. This is, again, out of my territory for the fundamentals, but they're definitely not a tangential player. They're not sitting on an LOI, a letter of interest, to perhaps review some opportunity. They're in it, and so they are a proxy for this sector.
Okay. All right. What else is looking interesting to you?
You know what? Specific names. Here's one, Vape, and I'm not a buyer today. VAPE. That is down. I mean, if you look at this chart, it's from 40 to 3
Wow.
or 3.5 in January,
Whew.
back to 40 in March, and now ranging around 3.
Wow.
I'm just pattern setup, looking for one fresh low. That's really all my pattern needs, or my format needs, is one fresh low in this pattern. It's already had a really nice bounce off of its first low. That's starting to peter out. I think they can flush out the rest of sellers and finally get to the point where you're out of sellers. Just one fresh low. So I'll probably be a buyer down there. And I
what if
know a lot of
they
Alan subscribers did really well. He had a call on it at the first low or after the first low.
and that is they're creating a vape pens for people to consume it. I assume.
Is this where I do the drum roll?
No, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty obvious in it, but just getting your take on it. All right, let's talk about some of the stocks that have been halted and how they've done. PHOT lost a lot of its value here, struggling to come back. And then what was the other one, the bigger stock that was halted? Went from
CANN.
TANN.
CANN
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
was
yeah.
halted before FOTE and reinstated.
Okay.
Just this week, I think CBGI, maybe one you're thinking of.
What do you think? What do you look at this CANN? I mean, it had the gap down, obviously the panic low on that day. Now you're getting some wicked consolidation here around the $15 level. Is this one on your radar?
Yeah, it is. It's in. It is definitely on my radar. It is a kind of a thorn in the side, I think, of my side and of the sector. Any halted stock, or I should say unhalted stock, that is it's a oddity. Unfortunately, not as odd as we would have liked in this sector, but it's an oddity, and so everybody's going to be watching it, and they're going to be watching it for a multitude of reasons, but primarily to see, is it going away? Is that going to kill its credibility? Because others that have been halted that seemingly have attractive models or attractive C-suite just the CEO, the other executive, the other board members bringing credibility to the company, and all of a sudden the stock is halted. Really, very cathartic moment for everybody in the sector. So I'm with. So as far as this wicked consolidation that you're referring to, that's to me that's a sign of strength.
Okay.
Not that it's a basing pattern so much as it's not going away. There's been over a month for the market, for all of the eyeballs, the collective eyeballs of the market, to consider what to do with this stock. It's not the most liquid, and I don't advise getting into the stocks that have any liquidity impediment. But because it's really more being defended, I think, by its owners as opposed to necessarily out there attracting new investment. Vote, I think, has, because it's in the same unhalted boat, and it's much more recently unhalted. The eyeballs have shifted over there, and they're wanting to see if it's going to do the same thing, if it's going to defend its opening range, if it's going to produce a pop. And again, I'm not at all directing anybody, encouraging anybody, if anything, discouraging everybody from actually participating when a stock is trading on the grays and not terribly liquid. It's more opaque and not transparent. But the fact is that I think there's an opportunity there if it can just start rallying and showing to the collective eyeballs. Yeah, this doesn't kill us.
Okay.
And it's a good sign.
Okay, JDOT's noticing, except for the GWPH here, that the sector's kind of been, in a decline after booming in January. You just think that's like the regulatory issues that are coming down on it, or was just the hype from the first two states, approving it? Do you see anything, besides a technical bit, technical or non-technical for this decline?
Yeah, they always go hand in hand. It's just when are you going to focus on one or the other? And people just weren't focusing. Here, pull up a stock, hemp, HEMP, if you want to pull that one up.
Okay.
That's an interesting look. Hemp is a stock. If you look at those last 3 days, I'm trying to get that up.
Okay.
Your screen as well. So if you looked at those last 3 days at that first high. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean the most recent 3 days. Go back to the view that you had, if you would.
Okay.
But the last 3 days at the high that are coming up soon were basically blow-off days. You don't get 3 big consecutive surges, without pulling every last dollar out from under the mattress, without pulling every last buyer out from the retirement homes.
Okay.
Everybody is going to be betting on this with the greatest of confidence, and there's nobody left, to defend it on the way down.
Okay.
And that is exactly what you were just describing. That enthusiasm coming out of the January 1 crowds that were shown on CNN, et cetera, in Denver. There's just nobody left to buy. Now, that was an extreme example, but it was more like the canary in the coal mine. And then when we got into the end of March, beginning of April, and then there were other factors that had nothing to do with the marijuana sector, but very valid nonetheless. Look at the biotechs. We talked about this, you and I, last time.
Yep.
The biotechs were starting to get crushed. The speculative premium was starting to go away. That was just a matter of time before investors, just that sentiment started rolling through all sectors of the market and hit those inflated marijuana stocks as well.
Okay, we've had Rod David on, the marijuana stock technical trader, giving his take on the sector. Rod, thanks a lot for your technical input, and we'll be back with you soon.
Thank you. Have a good morning.
Okay, Rod David, marijuana stock technical trader.